Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a game that I love dearly called The Hunter Call of the Wild. Now, in real life, I am an avid hunter, or at least I used to be, and I would love to get back into it someday, but for now, I will live vicariously through this game. If you have never heard of The Hunter Call of the Wild before, this is a more arcade-y, or more arcade-esque hunting game. You don't gut or skin or harvest the meat of any of the animals, and a lot of the aspects of the game is a little bit more arcade-like than I'd like it to. For example, a lot of other people who do content on this game do what I call whacking and stacking, which is you basically run around and you shoot everything you can possibly see and amass points and money and stuff in that way, which is unfortunate. As a real-life hunter, I don't like that. I think it doesn't really teach the importance of valuing an animal's life when you take it and the importance of its sacrifice and what it gives to you. But I was always taught to eat whatever you kill, and, it'd be impossible to eat 100 deer if that's what you're killing in a sitting. So for these videos, I plan on doing a little bit of the story missions and things with you, as well as doing planned hunts. So I plan on picking an animal or species to hunt that day, and then we'll go ahead and hunt that. But it'll mostly be targeted towards getting the biggest animal we can, and then maybe I'll do what's called herd management, which is a real thing in real life that farmers have to do a lot of the times because their crops will get decimated, and they will have to hire hunters or just allow hunters to come in with permits and everything, of course. And they have to thin the herds. So sometimes, if you don't know, in farms, like corn farms and things in real life, there will be 300, 400, sometimes even more in one field decimating a crop, okay? And, the thing with animals like deer and stuff, they don't necessarily eat the whole corn cob. They might just take one nibble out of it. Well, that's impossible for the farmer to sell. That's considered destroyed harvest for them. So they have to hire people to come in. And there's actually a couple of missions that are actually focused on that in this game. We're going to go ahead and select a reserve here, and I'm going to select Layton Lake District. Layton Lake District provides hunters from all over the world with a taste of the untamed wild, with few traces of civilization. Located in the Pacific Northwest, the area is predominantly covered by spruce, larch, and aspen forests, rocky mountain slopes, and marshlands in between. Plan your hunting trip carefully before taking on some of the most sought-after game like the moose, the black bear, the roseate elk, the white-tailed deer, the coyote, and the black-tailed deer. There's also other ones like turkey and rabbits and other things that they've added since this hasn't been updated.
You made it here in one piece. Welcome to the untamed wild. Name's Colton Locke, but everyone calls me Doc. I'm the warden up here, and I know just about every nook and cranny of this place. I heard this is your first time in the Pacific Northwest and Lake District. Well, this here's the best hunting reserve you'll find in 100 miles. I've been hunting here my whole life, and I still don't get tired of this place.
Beautiful. This game is truly one of the best graphic quality games that I have played in a very long time.
There's a lot to discover out here.
And this game came out a while ago, like years ago, and it still looks amazing.
Track around here.
So we've just accepted our first quest or mission or whatever you want to call it, which is called the First Steps, which we need to locate a track, shoot an animal, and harvest an animal. But as you may notice, there's actually a deer right here in front of us. It is a doe. Now, this is called quartering away. So it's when the deer is slightly turned, but not turned enough, which is called broadside, when the deer is completely turned right-angled towards you where you can see its side. That's called broadside. Right now, this is the position called quartering away. Now, typically, I do not recommend that people shoot a deer at this in real life. If you are going to shoot a deer, wait for broadside or maybe a chest shot if you're good enough. Now, we have the ability now to kind of sneak up here on this deer and get a little closer. We're very close right now. I'd say we're within 50 meters or 50 yards. And we're going to be able to lay down, which is going to give us a little bit more stability on our shot and hide us a little better. And we're going to hold our breath, and we're going to aim right here, right behind that shoulder blade. And that's going to take that deer down very quickly. Now, she's going to run away, but she's not going to run away very far. Now, this is a... Is this a 223? What is this? Oh, hush. This is a 243, which is a bit bigger than a 223, which is a common round you find in something like an AR-15, if you're familiar with that. This is a very common hunting round. However, usually people use something a little bit bigger, like a 270 or even something as large as a 30-06, which is basically a 308. And this bullet in this game does not have very good penetration. And I would say it's probably a little bit less penetration than what you would see in real life. But we'll be able to come up here and we'll be able to examine this track, which is one of the things that we need to do, which is locate a track. Now we got to go harvest the animal. Now, as you can see, this says that it's a vital organ hit, and it was just now. So it was very quick kill from a vital organ hit. Now, it won't be as quick as a heart shot, which should immediately down the animal. And because it was quartering away from us, we were only able to get just a little bit of penetration because we were penetrating up and through the lung instead of through both lungs. The more penetration of organs that you can get, or the more damage of the organs you can get, the better time you're going to have. Now, where did this deer go? It ran off in this direction. As you can see, they give you this deer as a little bit of a tutorial so you can get started with things and figure out where you're going. Now, I can see here there's actually a trail through the grass, and there's also a blood trail. We're going to ignore that other deer calling. It's just getting spooked because we're walking around. And for whatever reason, the track highlights are not on, which is fine. Normally, they're highlighted, and you can see them. But I actually kind of like playing with them off, even though it makes it a little bit more difficult. And as you can see, here's our deer. So, I don't know, maybe 20 to 50 yards later, and we have our deer here. So we can expect the deer, we can see all the different things, like our score and our trophy rating, the amount of XP that we got, and the cash. So this was a female, and we tracked it 216 yards, which I think is just the amount of time I was walking around before I actually found it. I don't know. Either that or the distance in this is a lot more than it looks like in real life. It's actually a 60-yard shot, which is actually pretty far. Not far for a rifle, but pretty far. And, if you comparisons, usually I do bow hunting. So that's actually a pretty decent, if you're doing a 60-yard shot, that's insane. We can come in here and we can look at it, rotate it around, which is really cool. I love this feature. Makes it really nice for doing screenshots and things. Thing we can also do is we can enable X-ray view, and this arrow here is actually showing you the angle of which the bullet went in. So we actually just barely nicked that lung. As you can see, it barely went in. Now, if we were shooting from the broadside position, we would have probably gone through one lung. I don't know that we would have had enough penetration to go through two, because you have to imagine that that bullet's going through all of the outside meat, through these rib bones, which it actually doesn't show right now, but there are rib bones here that are lined up with these spinal bones. And then for the heart here, now this is interesting. A lot of people when they're deer hunting and things, they always go for this square here because it's the largest area on the deer. But you see this thing and you go, oh, well, there's got to be a bone there. Well, actually, there's not. There is not a bone here. So the best area is actually to shoot right up in here, because then you'll have the ability to hit the heart, and even sometimes aiming for this little elbow as well. And if you can get a heart shot on a deer, it'll drop it just like that. Versus if you do a spine shot, it actually won't kill the deer. It'll still be alive. Sometimes it'll disable its breathing and stuff because it'll affect its diaphragm. But most of the time you have to take a second shot and kill it all the way, which is really unfortunate because it makes the deer suffer a little bit more than it needs to. We're going to go ahead and claim this. Now we can save the harvest for later, which just it saves it to like a little list. And then later on, if you have the money, you can go ahead and taxidermize it. Because if you're lucky and you get a really big buck on your first hunt or whatever, and you don't have any money to taxidermize it, that's really unfortunate. So they go ahead and give the ability to save the harvest for later. Now this is just a basic doe, and this is just basically going to be meat for dinner. So we're actually going to just accept this. And basically the idea here is that you're harvesting this animal and you're selling it to maybe a restaurant or something else that is giving you money for it.
If you want to get your bearings, there are lookout points spread out all over the reserve.
So now it's wanting to go ahead and go to the lookout point, which we actually saw in the beginning. And I can use my binoculars here and sort of zoom in. And the lookout point is just there. And what these lookout points do is when you go to them, you can sort of see that the map is very dark. And there's these green dots. Well, these green dots are the lookout points. And when you go to the lookout point, it'll allow you to survey the area. And then it'll show you different areas like stands and cabins. And then the cabins are fast travel points. They also allow you to respec your weapons and things like that. So I'm going to make my way up to that because walking is a little slow in this, and you don't really want to run around as much as possible. I'll bring you guys back if I get a location call from something, but for the most part, I kind of want to just go through these basic tutorials and try not to whack and stack as many animals as possible. Unfortunately, it is kind of a part of the game where you do have to kill a lot of animals to level up, but I'd like to make it so that it's as realistic as possible without it being damaging to the idea of hunting. As I was walking up to the lodge there, not the lodge, the lookout point, there was a moose that went ahead and did a vocalizing call. And it basically was saying, hey, you're near me. I hear you, go away, right? Now in this game, it's a little bit more accelerated than it normally is in real life. Now I have had deer come up to me or be near me and freak out. And they go, shh. And they're like, hey, I know you're there. Leave me be, right? It's a warning call. Now, in this game, it's a little bit ridiculous, and it happens almost all of the time. Now, this is a little tiny moose. You can see his little tiny antlers there. Now, moose actually usually have what we call paddles. So they're these big palm-shaped things. Kind of look like mittens almost. And this guy is super underdeveloped. And this game has a really cool system called True Rex in it, and True Score. And what the True Rex system does, it allows the antlers and the body size, and sometimes whatever the trophy is of an animal. So for bears, the trophy is their head, so big head. Same thing with wolves, also their body size is considered a trophy. So in this game, the game dynamically has a system where it changes the size of the antlers and the body size and things like that, depending on the score of the animal, which is really, really cool. Now, when this game first came out, it did not have that at all. Now, the original game, The Hunter, which was originally on thehunter.com and originally came to Steam, it had the True Rex system, but that game has like really dated graphics from like 2011. Not very great. And then you can see in the bottom left, there's actually this show all clues button. And what this does is it actually enables me to see those clues I was talking about earlier. See these footprints? So it highlights, says, hey, look, there's a footprint over here. And you come over here. So this is an animal I haven't tracked already. And if I click on it by hitting E, there we go, examine track. Now it shows up on my phone over here, also known as the Hunter Mate. And it shows me the direction the animal is going in, and I'll keep following that. Now, the tracked clues will be blue, and the untracked ones will be white by default. You can change this in the settings at any time. And then you can also go ahead and just disable them again with C. Now, it's very difficult, but you can sometimes see the footprints still without the clues on. Now, I can't see them at all for this rabbit here. Now, this pile of stones here is a bit of a point of interest, and it just gives you a little bit of history that they've added to the game, which is really cool. So this is a written note, and it says, left this note here for someone to find. Whoever you are, walk in peace. Go north to find the closest outpost. Can't miss the curious tombstone close by. And it gives a little bit of XP, and it's a little bit of lore unlocked that they've added to the game. There's different signposts and things that you can follow and different paths along the map as well. Here we are at the lookout post. It's very nice. It's a very nice view from over here, and it'll even be a nicer view once we go on top. All right, and now we can go ahead and survey our first lookout point.
That view never gets old, I'm telling you. From up here, you can see a lot of great hunting spots in the area. Valmont's not only where Hope set up camp, it's also famous for the railroad bridges along the old North Pacific line. Keep an eye out for them if you can in between blacktail hunting. Or why not use them as vantage points? I once bagged a whitetail from the Runaki Bridge. Be sure to stop by one of the outposts. You can find pretty much anything you need there.
Thank you, sir. So they've actually improved this game so much since I've played it before a long time ago. Now, as you can see here, we actually have 3 different weapons on us. We have a shotgun, and we have our rifle, and then we have a handgun. Now, you may be thinking, whoa, why would we use a handgun? In some areas, in some states in America and in other countries, you actually have the ability to use handguns as a hunting caliber for certain animals. We also have our sight, which is universal. So if you have any other guns that can use this sight here, it can be applied. You don't have to buy like 8 different sights. Now there are upgrades in different sights. We also have these different lures. So we have a deer bleat, predator jackrabbit collar, and the roe deer collar. Now this is not for this map. This is for Hirschfelden, but the deer bleat is for this map as well as other maps as well. So you whitetail deer, blacktail deer, mule deer, and sika deer. On this, we have whitetail, blacktail, and mule deer, not sika. Sika is a different one. We also have this consumable, which is a scent eliminator. This is a very common thing for hunting, especially when you're hunting with the newer age stuff. It basically just makes it so it's harder for them to smell you. In my personal experience, this is really not all that needed. As long as you shower without using any shampoo or anything, you should be okay. And then you pretty much just mask your scent with another scent. So if you're hunting in a pine tree, that's a really good way of doing it. Use some pine sap, spread it around. And then we have our pair of binoculars. And now below here, I've marked on the map a cabin, and this is where we're going to go next. But I also heard there was a turkey down here somewhere. It did a mating call. I wanted to see if we could go ahead and spot them. Look at that. So what that just did, it told me that I discovered a feed zone. So right now they're feeding, and this feed zone is now on the map, and it says between 8 and 11. And we can go ahead and go there pretty much any time between 8 and 11 now, and they should be in this area. Now this is a Miriam turkey, which I've never heard of before, but they really are pretty. And for this, you don't want to use a rifle. You might be able to get away with a handgun. Now, if you had a 22 rifle, you could use that, but you don't want to use a 243. That's too much. But we do have this shotgun, and I wanted to see what ammo we have available for this shotgun. And it looks like we have buckshot. So the buckshot is going to be too much for these turkeys. So unfortunately, we're going to have to pass on these guys like we did on the moose, because we don't have the ability to take these out appropriately. And you want to use the appropriate ammunition. They have a really nice little interior here you can go and check out. And it's just a little something they added to the game. Nothing real special here, but people wanted it, and so they added it to the game. Now, technically, if I wanted to, I could kill these turkeys with this rifle or the shotgun or the handgun, and it would probably be fine in terms of the game. But because I am an ethical hunter in real life, I want to be an ethical hunter in the game, and I'm not going to harvest them with this. Now, you'd be wondering, is this game a walking simulator? And the answer to that is pretty much. Now, if you're not a hunter or don't like hunting, this might not be the game for you. However, in contrast, this might be the game for you. If you love animals and you love beautiful scenery, pick up the game on sale and just have a blast walking around. It's amazing. It's almost like taking a hike in real life. It's that beautiful. I absolutely love it. I love all the nature. I love seeing all the different birds, all the different animals. It's really, really nice. And there's DLC that are adding a dog, and there's actually already one added right now. It's called the Bloodhound, and there's another one that's adding a Labrador. But for those of you who are interested in hunting and hunt in real life, I would totally recommend this to you. It is a very good game. It's very satisfying. There's a lot of animal variety. There's a lot of DLC. I would definitely recommend picking it up on sale. I believe it's on sale right now for Black Friday, which at the time you see this video, it probably won't be on sale anymore, unfortunately. But I'm making this video as an introductory to get people who are interested in this game, or maybe interested in hunting and want to play a hunting game for this game. Now you can go ahead and buy the DLC for the four-wheeler, which allows you to drive around the locations, because there is a lot of walking in this, and you don't want to do a lot of running, because as you run, you'll end up spooking things. In the bottom right, you will see that there's a compass with like a green triangle thing. That is actually the wind. So right now the wind is, I believe, currently blowing from behind us. You can kind of see how the wind is blowing with a little dust in the air. It actually goes, and then the leaves on the ground as well, they actually blow in the right direction as well. And then there's a heart icon, so that's going to be like how your heart rate is. So if you're running a lot and then you try to aim down sights, your gun's going to be swaying all over the place. Now it already sways, but if you hold shift, you can steady it. But if you're running, it's going to be like, it's crazy. So you don't want to do a lot of running if you're going to make a nice steady shot. One next to that is going to be your sight. So as you can see, I'm fully visible here, but if I go in this bush, I'm less visible. And I go all the way down, and we can't quite get invisible here, but we're very close. Now this would be very hard pressed for an animal to see you like this. But as you can hear, we're actually making a lot of noise. And as we're walking in this bush, the speaker icon's going up, and that is your audibleness. So as I'm walking around, it gets red. It's because it's actually interacting with your jacket and stuff with the branches, and it's making the same noise it would in real life. It's really awesome. Here we are at the outpost, and now we're able to fast travel here, sleep, as
Nice
well
place,
as restock our
right?
gear.
You won't find a soft bed in many parts around here. Don't forget to stock up before heading out.
So this is the cache, or the store, if you will. It's also your storage and your character manager, so we can see our character here. Apparently I'm wearing a dry grass ghillie suit right now. There's a couple of different options. You can wear a backpack. Now, one of the things is, if you do buy a backpack and you wear it, it will increase your noise level by a static amount. So right now my level is 0. If I go ahead and equip a backpack, it'll go up by whatever the backpack says. You can be male or female.
Hey there, you know
Different
that
options for
guy
your
I
face.
mentioned earlier, Hope? Well, looks like he's been having a bit of a problem lately. He's been camping out over at Balmont a couple weeks, but coming back last night, he found his camp turned on its head. Some food was taken, and apparently the place looked like it had been really messed with. I don't know if it was an animal or some tourist troublemakers, but I'm up in Topeka all day and can't look into it. Listen, I know you probably have other plans, but you're in the right neck of the woods, and I'd sure be grateful if you could just stop on by and have a look.
Yeah, we can go ahead and do that. Get our hunter mate, accept that quest. Back to the cache. So this is the store. This shows you all the different
Hope
weapons
showed
that
up
you can
here
get.
2 years ago. Said something about getting off the grid. I heard he lost his family in an accident while he was deployed overseas in the army. Hit the poor guy hard. I guess out here you only need to look out for yourself. It's easier that way. Not the most cheerful fella, to be honest, but he's earned his peace for sure. Let's find out whoever did this.
We will. Are you done now? Can I continue talking to the folks? Thank you. So as you can see, there's a lot of different weapons here, from a small caliber such as 223, which is again the same kind of rifle that you would, or caliber you would see in an AR-15, all the way up to something as big as a 45-70 or a 7mm. I think there's a 350 Magnum or something in here as well. Really, really big cartridges for the really big game, like moose, elk, bison. There's all kinds of animals in this, especially when you're looking at the DLC here. Now, a lot of these are expensive. You're thinking, wow, $12,000 for a gun. That's kind of insane. $75,000. You earn money pretty quickly in this, especially if you're whacking and stacking. Now, as you can see, I have these for free, and I'm not going to use these for this episode, but I may use them in the next episode. These are the DLC guns, so these are 30-06s. As you can see, these are really good for a lot of the bigger games. So deer, blacktail, whitetail, your mule deer, your fallow deer, things like that. Red deer, I believe, are okay with this. Elk, I believe, okay with this. Moose, okay with this. It's pretty much an all-arounder. You can use that on anything. Although you're better off using something like, for the whitetail deer, blacktail deer, mule deer, I prefer this Solokin MN 1890 assembly rifle. This is a really good gun, and it has really good stuff. Now, this is all DLC stuff. You do not need this to play the game. You can easily use the included 270 Huntsman or the 270 Stradivarius. Any of these 270s, they're all the same. It's just different skins. This would be the preferred rifle if you're going to use this for hunting deer. And then the next caliber up would be like the 7mm, which is good for a lot of the bigger game. And then I believe the next caliber up and the base game would be like the 338, which is for your biggest stuff. So your grizzly bear and your bison and things like that. You can use this on moose and stuff too, but it's not the best. No, don't get me wrong. You can use the Ranger 43 for as long as you'd like for smaller animals like deer. Maybe you can use it on coyotes. But you'll want to go ahead and upgrade to the polymer tipped bullets for the 243 as soon as possible. Now, the soft points, they're completely free. And if you're accurate enough, you can get a really good shot on them, no problem. But the polymer tips allow you to penetrate a lot deeper. So remember in the beginning of the video, where we shot that doe and we barely just grazed its lung. Well, if we were using the polymer tip, it probably would have went right through both the lungs had I had the right angle on it. And that goes for pretty much all of the different bullets. And there's not only just rifles, there's also handguns. There's quite a bit of them. There's 22 for small game. There's also 22 rifles for small game. You have your 410, which is really cool. So this can be 45 Colts or 410 shotgun shells. And yeah, I believe you can equip like birdshot with that, which is really cool. So you can hunt birds or squirrels, or not squirrels, rabbits, raccoons, things like that. And then you can use the 45 Colt for smaller animals such as roe deer, springbok, maybe even foxes and coyotes. Then you have your big boys, like your 454 here. And this is big enough to punch down even things like bears, moose, I believe. I mean, this thing is just insane. It's a big old bullet. Lots of recoil. They have pretty short range and pretty bad accuracy. Then you have your shotguns, which it looks like we have an included shotgun. Now, you used to have to get a shotgun through a quest, which was kind of a long time. You got the Grankin shotgun through a quest. But now it looks like you get a shotgun right out the bat, which is really nice. It really opens you up to a lot more species right off the bat. And so we get a 12 gauge, and then there's these fancy ones. Again, most of the shotguns are pretty much the same except for your different gauges. You have your 20 gauge, which I believe this is a semi-auto. Yep, it is. So this one you don't have to pump. You just go bang, 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 bang. You have your lever actions, which is pretty neat, kind of fancy. Is there a 16 gauge in this? You have the 20 gauge and you have the 12 gauge. And I think there's one more special shotgun. Oh, here we go. The 1897 is a 16 gauge. Now you're going to be wondering, well, what gauge should I use? For big game like deer and other things. So when I say big game, for a shotgun, that's a big game. You probably can take down moose and elk with the shotgun slugs, but I don't know how accurate it is or how good it is for this game. In real life, absolutely, you can smack down a moose with a shotgun slug. No problem. 12 gauge. For birds and things, you're going to want to use 20 gauge or the 410. And then if you do want to use 12 gauge, you can, but that's usually reserved for a bit longer range. Now, there's no problem using 12 gauge in real life. Plenty of people do it. I just feel like it's considered by a lot of people to be overkill. Now onto the bows. So you have these long bows, which I believe some of these are DLC. So in the base game, you're only going to have access to like the bear claw, which is a compound bow, and then I think the hawk edge, which is another compound bow. I don't think there's any long bows in the base game, which is unfortunate. Now this is a recurve bow here. And then this is the long bow. And I think one of the latest DLCs that I don't have introduced a new kind of bow. But it doesn't really matter because the compound bows are going to be perfect for what you want. And then if you're interested, there is a DLC that adds the crossbows, which are really nice. They're really powerful. There's several different types of arrows that we'll go over in a second for different games. So the long bow are really heavy. So they have a peak draw rate of 60 pounds compared to the 60 pounds of the compound bow. But they have a pretty bad range and pretty bad accuracy, but they are able to take down very large prey. Same thing with the recurve bow. They're about the same as the compound bow, except they're a little bit stronger, and they're also able to take down really big game as well as small game from the different arrow size. Again, harder to use because it doesn't have a sight and all those things, and at that point it just kind of comes down to preference. Let's go over some of the ammo for the shotgun real quick. So you have your bird shot, which again is for birds. You have these brass ones, which is for the 10 gauge lever action, which is just insane. I mean, that's a massive gauge. That'll take down anything in the game. You got your bird shot for your 12 gauge, your buckshot, and your slug. So buckshot is for close range. Slug is for a little bit further range. Like I said, at about 54 yards, which is not bad. It's decent. You can go a little bit longer than that, probably up to 75 and still take down most animals. No problem. You're going to have a hard time aiming with that, depending on what sight you have. 16 gauge, again, I don't know that I would recommend using the 16 gauge for anything larger than whitetail deer. Well, actually, no, 16 gauge is fine. 20 gauge, same thing. You can take down whitetail deer and stuff with this. I don't know how the game handles that or not. Might be different, but in real life, you're going to be hard-pressed taking down a deer or anything larger than a deer with a slug from that far. Now, we have our arrows. So we have our small game arrows, which has a fancy little point on here, which is to catch those small games. Then you have the bolts, which are for the crossbow. You have tracers, which these have like a little glowy thing on them. Again, I think most of these are DLC. This is going to be, so your 420 grain broadhead is going to be in the default game, and I think the 300 grain will be as well. It's locked currently, so you're going to have to go ahead and upgrade your bow skill for that, which we'll talk about that in a minute. And you have the higher the grain, the heavier the arrow, but the more damage it's going to do to like bigger game. But also it's not going to be as viable for lower game. So if you use a 540 grain broadhead on a deer, you're probably going to ruin it and it's not going to do so well for you. And you have all the way up to 600 grain, which is insane. 700 grain. These are insane. These are for, I believe, are these for the longbows, maybe? Longbow or recurve bow. That's for taking down those really big ones like the bison and the moose here. And that's about it for the arrows and weapons and things. You've got tents and blinds. That's a DLC that you can buy, and these are just things you can place down and you can actually fast travel to and use for different things. Like this is a bird blind. These are ground blinds. These are the tents, which I said you can fast travel to the tents. You cannot fast travel to the blinds. Tree stands, which are really cool. We'll get into those at some point, and the tripods as well. Various different binoculars. You've got the rangefinder, and then you have this one, which has night vision and the rangefinder. This is the DLC. I believe this big one here also has a rangefinder built in it as well. Maybe not. Yes, it does. Right there. Here's your backpacks, and you can see it adds noise, visibility, but it also adds carrying capacity. So if you really need to carry some big, heavy stuff, you can get a backpack. I don't usually run that because I don't like the increased noise. Got these different clothing. These don't do anything. They're just visual. Consumables, you got some doggy biscuits for the dogs. That's a DLC. First aid kit, which you will need because animals can run you over and can do damage. And then you have your decoys. So you got your decoys for your different fowl, your geese, ducks, and turkeys. Different scents. So you have attractants that will sort of waft in the air, and they have a range. This one has a 218 range for 300 seconds. Attraction strength 50, so it's pretty decent at attracting. And you've got a lot of different collars here. I'm not going to go over all of them for now, but there's a collar for every species. Some of them are mixed collars, so as you can see, this antler rattle will do all of these species. Again, the same range, duration, and attraction strength. Got a garage here with our 4x4 four-wheelers, and the kennel with our good boy here. And that's about it. You got your storage, so you got what's in your storage over here. So I have a 270 Stradivarius. That was because of a community thing that was happening. I don't know if everyone gets that or if I just have that unlocked or not, so I'm not going to use it for this first video. Next, I just want to very briefly go over the skills point system in this game. So there's skills and perks. Your skills are like different things like tracking and stalking, ambushing. So the ambusher is going to be about your scent and different things like that, laying in wait, waiting for them. And there's other things, reduces the cost of all items in the outpost, increases your base carry capacity, different things like that. Definitely want to look into these a little bit more. Reveals information about the gender when investigating footprints, things like that. These are very important and help you a lot when trying to discover information about a potential harvest of an animal. Then you have perks, which helps you with your different weapons. So you have muscle memory, which unlocks the ability to ready your next shot faster without having to go out of the scope and come back in, which is very useful. There's hold your breath, so you hold your breath for a little bit longer and better. Same thing here. Zeroing, which is by far one of the most important, so you can tell your gun to set to a specific range, so you don't have to aim all the way up to the sky just to shoot a 300-yard shot. You've got wobble decrease, which is useful, and then you've got here, which is the ability to gauge lateral wind direction and speed when any aim mode with any weapon. This one, not that important. It is important, but it's not all that used because you'll never really need to adjust for wind so much for a shot unless you're shooting like 500 yards. It's really not that important. Handguns, I don't really know what all these do, like faster reloading, steady aim, damage from animal attacks is reduced. It's like kind of like a run and gun perk. Shotgun's useful, can decrease the, I think, weapon spread, increases recoil and stuff like that. It's really helpful. Archery one, super helpful. One of these allows you to lay on the ground while shooting, which is helpful, although I don't know how you'd be able to do that in real life. Increases the time an arrow can be drawn in aim mode before fatigue sets in, which fatigue makes your mouse go all wobbly. Accuracy, which is helpful, although this is from the hip, so that's not all that helpful because you should never hit fire a bow. Aim while prone, yeah, that one. Increased arm strength means draw length, increases the kinetic energy of all bones, more damage and penetration. So this would be a good one if you're trying to hunt bigger game. I'm going to try and go ahead and get you guys a couple more hunts before we end this episode. This one's going to be a little bit longer. I went a little bit windy with the explanation of everything, but I wanted everybody to go ahead and understand a lot of the basic defaults of the game before we go ahead and continue with the episodes. Okay, so I'm just down the hill from the lodge. It's only 104 yards away, and there's actually two herds of deer grazing. There's one over here, which this is a whitetail herd, and there's 2 nice bucks down there. And then I looked across the lake, and there's another herd over here as well. Now, from what I can tell, there only seems to be a little buck. Actually, there might be a nice one right there. We'll have to get closer. So now I have to make the decision on which herd I want to go for. It looks like there's 3 bucks over there in that herd, a little baby buck and 2 nicer ones. And I don't know if I want to take out the little one or not. So the way that the herd system works in this is basically the deer spawn in cycles, I think. And then there are the larger bucks and the does and the smaller bucks and the does. And the way to get bigger bucks is you take out the smaller bucks, and then the bigger bucks grow up in their place, or basically respawn in the place. All right, looks like those are smaller over there from what I can tell, and I don't see any other ones. So we're going to sneak up on this herd over here. Now we do have our caller, and if we get into position, we might be able to call them in. Now this would be a really bad spot to do that. Now there's a hunting stand here, and we'll go check what price this is. We don't have a lot of money. I would be willing to maybe spend some of it to get this stand up, but this is really more for bow hunting. This is actually in a really bad spot because the bushes are right in front of it, and you would probably not do this for a hunting stand in real life unless you're like bow hunting. This way it would distract them or deflect their vision so they couldn't see you when they're approaching. All right, how much is this? It's $2,100. You know what? We're going to build it because we have that kind of money. Now, I do not believe that building these will spook anything. Looks like we're okay. Now, the problem is I don't really have... Oh, I actually do have a pretty decent view line from here. Now, I have no idea how far away this is. They could be 300 meters, 400 meters. I have no idea. Now, it says they're about 150 to 216. Now, that's a pretty large difference. It's about an 80-yard difference there, which is a bit too much for me. But we should be in the range for the caller. So with any luck, we should be able to call them in a little bit closer, and maybe that other herd will also hear it and come in as well. That would be really nice, and then we could pick whichever buck is the best. Now it doesn't, well, maybe they're moving. Those definitely look like a lot smaller bucks over there in that herd for sure. These guys coming over? That guy looks like he might be coming. No, they're just standing there. All right, I'm going to keep calling them in and see if they'll come in. Oh, looks like they're on the move. Now, I don't know if they're moving towards me or if they're moving somewhere else, but if I were to take a shot, now would be probably one of the best times. That guy looks like he's coming this way. I think I wanted the one in the back, though. He has nice widespread antlers. I like that a lot. But now I don't have a visual on them at all. They're completely obstructed by these bushes, which is why this is a very bad stand for hunting with a gun. However, you had a bow and arrow, they have to go through these bushes, which means they're not going to be able to see you until they're really close, and you want them to be nice and close. Ideally, you want them to be within 30 yards of the bow. Anything longer than that, and you're going to have a really hard time seeing them, unless you're just really skilled with a bow, which, by all means, cool. But I really like the challenge of the up-close hunting of a bow. Okay, here they are. They're right in front of us. Thought I heard some footsteps. So that, I believe, is the smaller buck, which he's in a perfect position for us to go ahead and smoke him right now. But I want to see if that bigger buck will come in. I also want to show you guys something. So the wind is perfect right now. The wind is right in front of us, so it's blowing right in our face, which means it's blowing behind us, which is great. That won't be able to smell us this way. But if you aim down sights and you click middle mouse button, you can go ahead and do iron sights, which is good for close-up shots if you ever need to do that, or if you just want a challenge. I've also enabled the setting that when you take a shot, you actually have to manually, with I believe the R button, reload the bolt, whereas normally you just hit R and it reloads, but I'm doing it manually. I hear them, but I'm not seeing them. Okay, so there's the does. There's that buck again. Now I'm wary of calling again, because I don't want them to get too close. They'll smell me. But the wind is in our favor, so we should be okay. Now, rule number 1 of hunting is always know what you're shooting at and what's behind your target. So, for example, if there's 2 deer and there's one in front of the other, you need to make sure that the other deer is out of the way before you shoot, because if you hit the one behind it, chances are, only thing you're going to do is wound it. I hear him stomping around in front of me. I can't see him. This is just like real life when you're sitting in the stand and you hear something trotting. Oh, it's the most intense feeling in the world. And sometimes it turns out to be a squirrel, and you're like, ah, why, squirrel, why? But other times it turns out to be a nice big old buck, and you can see his outline right there. I think that's the wide one right there. Can we get lucky and see the other ones? I'd really like for him to come into the clear. I don't like shooting through brush. You never know if the branch will graze it or if it gets stuck in the tree. You always want to have a nice, good, clear shot. Even in a video game, because you'll be tracking these guys for days. Now, I don't know if he's wanting me to call again or what his deal is. They won't come any closer, which I'm not perfectly invisible, but I'm good enough, I think. No, I feel like that's the little one. Where is the big boy? Oh, maybe that is the big one. Or is this a different herd? No, that's got to be that herd. There's no way. Yep, that's the little one there. Okay, so that is the big boy then in the front. All right, he's going to come out. Let's get ready to smoke him. There he is. Now, in the future, you'll be able to get a perk that actually allows you to get them to stop. But for now, I'm going to use the collar. And that should get his attention. See, he turned. Now he's heading back this way, but this will give me the ability to get him to stop somewhere. He stopped right there, but he stopped in the trees. Come on, just a little closer, buddy. That is the big one, right? It's kind of weird because his horns are so wide that when you're looking at him from the side profile, it makes him look small. This other one's like right in front of me. I could throw a stick at him. Here he goes. As soon as he gets into that clearing. No, why are you trotting? Perfect. Nope. So close. Now, you could have taken that shot, and you're probably fine because it's a video game, but I do not like taking risky shots like that. Now, if he gets right in here, I'm taking him. Try calling him one more time. See if that gets his attention. Now, you could probably use the 357 Magnum or the shotgun on these guys. And if he comes close enough, I'll blast him with the shotgun. I don't care. But he's a little far away yet, I think, for the shotgun. And I want to be able to get a good shot on him. Come on, just go right there. Just go right there. You're so frustrating. That's how it is sometimes, though, when you're hunting. You just got to wait for that perfect shot. Sometimes it doesn't come. A lot of more unexperienced hunters will rush a shot, and they end up losing the deer, and they never get it. Or they end up wounding it, never finding it. My motto is if it came in once, it'll come in again. Man, that is a very tempting shot right there. But look at all those branches in the way. Just in case it is our smell, I'm going to go ahead and slap on some of this. I don't think it's our smell. I think our smell is fine. I think it more so has to do with this collar. It's not the antler collar or the grunt, so it's not really enticing him so much. I mean, it is working for sure, but I feel like the other one comes in a little bit stronger with the other one. Whoa, where'd you come from? Now there's 3 bucks. I mean, that one looks kind of nice too. But I really like this wide guy. And he's kind of making me mad. So, although I feel like that other one's nicer, isn't he? So that's a 2 minor. That's a 2 minor as well. So is he. Now, eventually you'll get a skill to be able to tell like what points they're worth and things like that and their trophy score. That is a nicer buck back there, actually. He's bigger. Come on, big boy. Man, you're nice. You're pretty. You got a nice, pretty tight rack. Look at this guy, though, with his wide rack. I do like the wide boy. I'm not going to lie. I do like him. He's got some aggression to him, you know? He's like, look at me. I'm so wide. You could hang Christmas tree ornaments from my rack. Just keep walking. Just keep walking. Don't you stop behind that bush. Okay, stop. Perfect. Whoo, baby! Yes, sir! All right, and that had to have been a perfect broadside shot. Now, where did he go? Is that him in the front? No, that's Wide Boy. Let's see. Is that him? That's not him. It has to be him. There's only two of them, right? Unless there was a third buck. I didn't miss. I hit him. He jumped. All right, well, let's get down out of this stand. Well, I'll wait a minute, let him die down. So this is something you do in real life, too. After you take a shot at an animal, you want to go ahead and wait about 15 minutes to half an hour, depending on the shot you take. Let him go, run off, die, calm down, and then you can go ahead and follow the blood trail. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do then. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get our hunter mate out and get out of the stand. As you can see, there's a green dot on my screen, and that is from when I last spotted him. And if you're new to the game and you're playing with all of the HUD elements on and everything, I would definitely recommend you to use the spotting technique. So you look at what you're about to shoot and then spot it, and then you can go ahead and go there. Or you can leave a waypoint. That's also a very good method. You can see his nice, beautiful blood splatter here. Vital organ hit, very fresh. Yes, indeed. And we're going to go ahead and follow these tracks. Now, what I like to do is I like to be able to turn it off, and you can go ahead and see that there's a trail here. Now, for whatever reason, the actual footprint decals aren't all that great right now. As you can see, there's one right there, kind of. If I highlight it, turn it on, you can sort of see it. We'll leave it on for now. I'm going to change this color at some point because I don't like the default. But there he is. See, here I thought he went off and went super far, but he actually dropped just a short while after. I mean, the stand's right there. He barely went anywhere. And look at this big, beautiful boy here. Now, I do not know how to use the camera other than like this. I don't know if there's something we can do to pose. We're going to go ahead and take a photo like that. We'll confirm him. And we'll go ahead and inspect this guy. So we can get a good photo later. Beautiful. And then we'll go ahead and do X-ray view. And as you can see, we actually would have gotten a perfect heart shot had our bullet had a little bit penetration, but it didn't have enough. See how I said there's no bone here? I actually was aiming up a little too high because we're so close, but we could have easily destroyed all of those beautiful blood vessels, and this guy would have dropped like our sack of potatoes. What a beautiful buck. Look at that guy. How gorgeous are you? Gorgeous boy. Let's see, what did we score here? So he is a silver, so he's not a gold or anything fancy like that, but we definitely got all of the trophy checks. We hit the vital organs. The trophy organs were intact. We shot it 2 times or less, and we used the proper ammo for this animal. So that's what all of these harvest checks are for, whether or not you're using the proper ammo. If you shot it too many times, if you shot it in the head and ruined the antlers, or for other animals, there's different trophies. And if you hit 1 vital organ or more, if you shot it in the butt and it died, you're going to get a check off of that. And that just determines how good your score is. And it also is in conjunction with its weight and different things like that, its class. Unfortunately, this guy wasn't a gold, but he is still a gorgeous boy. We're going to get a bit of XP from him. It was a 39-yard shot, not bad. We can go ahead and look at the true score. I do not know what this means. Maybe I'll have to go ahead and look up what this means. But it gives you a different score depending on the length of the tines and the tip and all of the things. This is actually like the official measuring system that's used in real life. And we're actually going to save this harvest as our brand new, or as our first. I'm going to have to manage my old harvests. I'm going to delete them all real quick. As you can see, there he is. He is saved. Now, we will be able to go ahead and do a trophy lodge eventually. We still get cash and reward for saving the harvest, so don't worry about that. And later on, we'll be able to go ahead and go into the trophy lodge. I will go ahead and make a new trophy lodge for this, or I'll just delete one and remake it. I actually deleted my main save, and then I found out that there's actually this really cool thing that you can get on Nexus Mod. It's called the Hunter Call of the Wild Save Manager. And if you want to be able to run more than one save, let's say you want to play a personal one, or when you want to play with friends and level up at the same time, or if you're doing like me and you're recording, it's very nice to be able to have different saves that you can just one click, set as current, and then you can play it and everything gets saved. But that is actually going to do us for today. Thank you so very much for watching. Like I said, I apologize for the lengthy introduction of all of the different things that you can do in the game, but I felt it was really important to let you guys know. If you guys did enjoy the episode, please leave a like on it. I'm not begging for likes because I want exposure. I'm begging for likes because that tells me you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll make more because I really love this game, and I really hope you guys are going to enjoy it as well. I promise the next video will be all about hunting and no more education about what you can do in the game. I promise you it will just be a great episode. Let me know what species you guys want me to go after, what your favorite species are, if you play this game, all those things. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, turn on the notification bell. As always, may the Lord bless you and your loved ones as he has blessed me and mine. I love you guys so much. Jesus loves you, and I will see you guys in the next episode of The Hunter Call of the Wild.